So much yarn, so little time.
Big extended yarn.
Quite the ripping yarn.
Shall we start with the yarn?
What I'm thinking is how we start. Obviously, you know the rough premise of the podcast, sort of
About
telling
life.
your story. Yeah, just like your story, bro, and where you've come from and sort of what you're up to and where you're going. But I reckon the best thing will be just to, for everyone listening, just introduce yourself and kind of like what you get up to and what you do, and go.
Hey, I'm Troy Spiers. I'm the founder of Legend Hats, the Thinky Cap Co. It's been just a recent thing. So in the last year, it sort of kicked off, and I've been a full-time builder pretty much ever since I finished school. Yeah, obviously we met through Instagram. So you purchased some hats off me, and we've sort of just been back and forth until then, I guess. And then, you
that's
started
it.
up your Big Yarn podcast, and here I am.
Here we are. Yeah, well, the thing is, firstly, on the hats. So obviously I've been a big hat person like whole life. You know, I was a ginger as a kid, so I always wore hats. And like the tactic was like to hide it, you know, so I wouldn't get teased as much. And then, you know, as I've gotten older and fucking balded and stuff, so I just always have been a hat, especially like baseball hats, you know. And no shit, your quality control on these was obviously pretty dialed.
Yeah,
Because even when they showed up, when stuff shows up and you're not really sure what to expect. I pulled these out, I was like, oh shit, like, dude, I wear this hat more than any. I don't even know how many hats, countless. I gravitate towards this over all of them.
It's
just because
awesome,
of the quality and the fit, you know, like they're such good caps, man. Like you've done really well with the quality.
We went through a lot of research and development. Like I went through a lot of suppliers to make sure I had it dialed. Similar to you, man. I'm a ginger and I'm bald now as well. So big hat guy. And we did a lot of work. But I say we because all my mates have just been super supportive and just like backing this whole entire adventure. So it's been good to have that sort of community backing me as well.
Yeah. You're a year in now, aren't you?
Yeah, just over a year. We just clocked over a year. And what we've achieved in that year has just been, it's crazy. And yeah, I'm definitely not lucky, but I'm definitely fortunate to just sort of find ourselves in these places, especially doing collaborations with, you know, quite big companies and things like that. It's just been awesome. And like local wicked companies as well.
And a year is a pretty cool milestone
Yeah,
to
it's
reach
wicked.
in business in general.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it makes the building company easy, that's for sure. It makes it look easy compared to this.
Yeah, I was rocking I had the little cut-off pencil in the side here for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not a builder, obviously, so I'm not trying to like pretend to be one of heaps of people when I go out and they'd be like so intrigued by it. I think I was messaging you that and telling you like the amount of people that I've like done like a sales pitch to for these hats, you know, because they're like,
it always gets looked
yeah.
at the pub, people always ask.
Everyone's curious, like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's pretty. We'll get more into the hats though. Like I said, you know the premise. So, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
So I grew up in Wellington originally. I'm now in Christchurch, but I grew up in Wellington, not like Wellington Central, but like more sort of a place called Titahi, which is in between Lower Hutt and Upper Hutt. Pretty much how we ended up there was like, right back to day dot is my mum left me when I was born for old man. And he just batted for me pretty much, like off the bat, and would take care of me. So yeah,
How old were you when that went down?
I was fresh born baby, and she boosted. So
Shit.
left me with my dad, and we sold our house in Kelson that was there, and then just shuffled around together. My old man was a baker, it was pretty much his whole life, but did a lot of mechanic stuff before that, so that was awesome. So come from quite a big car background as well. But man, there's not too many dads that would take on the task of taking care of a young baby. So
bro. And what do you say? He was a baker. So he would have been on the mad early morning grind.
Bro, yeah, man. Apparently he would take me to work as a baby and just sit me on the bench and like let me play with dough just until I passed out. And he just did it all for me. So
have you got siblings?
No, man, no brothers, no sisters, just me.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's hard to even imagine what that would be like, eh? Like,
Oh, bro.
Say being left alone with a newborn as a dad,
And like
having to battle through that on your own.
Yeah, he's a pretty hard dude too. Like, he's a pretty pretty staunch man. So
Yeah.
and then around, I think it was about I don't know 4 or 5. She tried to come back into my life. I think it's got a bit split up. And then sort of around 13, I sort of by the age of 13, man, I think I'd been caught in court for child-related like custody issues probably more times than a serial killer, bro. So they don't really take kids too seriously, but I knew from day one that I just wanted to be an old man and nothing else. So yeah, when I was about 8, I think we moved into Titahi, which was, if you know where Titahi is, it's pretty rough area.
Where is it?
So it's like just before Upper Hutt kind of thing, like just after Nainai.
In Wellington, yeah.
Pretty heavy gang-related areas and things like that. But hey, my old man was doing the best he can do, and I don't think I had a bad childhood like whatsoever. I'd never be saying that I got abused or anything like that. If anything, I just had some pretty hardcore mates like yourself, like you were explaining in the podcast too.
Yeah. It's definitely character building stuff growing up in certain areas, eh?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I was telling my 2 stepdaughters the other day, we were talking about bullies and that, and I was like, man, I used to have to I'd catch a train and then I'd have to sprint home just to not get a hiding, like just to not get beaten up. But times change and you grow up and things like that. But I was pretty lucky to have a good stepmom too.
Yeah, if you get out of it unscathed, like I said, it's all just character building stuff. You look back on it and sort of laugh, but yeah, I mean, like you say, very similar. I was like mainly in my teenage years. Obviously, my dad was raising me and my sister, and same thing where we lived was, it was a full sort of black power neighborhood, and I was like the token little white redhead kid on the bus.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It came with its struggles, as people can imagine, but it makes you stronger. Like dealing with all that shit, especially like you say, like the bullying and stuff. You look back on it as a grown up and you're like, it was shit, but it wasn't as bad as some people have an upbringing,
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, there's people that have been through way worse than me. Usually why I don't dive into my past too much, because I'm sort of like, there's always someone who's worse off. So
yeah, I get you. I'm very much of that mind too.
Yeah. Oh man, and like I said, from the age of 8, I was very lucky to have a real good stepmom who was real supportive too. So she's awesome as well. So, but yeah, I just sort of, what's that, man?
I was just going to say, did you keep in touch with your mum later on in life?
Nah, I haven't spoken to my real mum since I was 13, man. She emptied out all my bank accounts, took all my stuff. Just a real nasty ladies. I don't really have too much to do. And the hardest thing is you explain that to people when you're, 13, between the ages of 13 and 18 or whatever. And other people's parents will be like, oh, you need to forgive and you need to, and I'm like, I'm all good. I'm over it all. I just, it's cutting the head off at the snake for me. Done, at least you can't bite me then, if you're completely out of my life, So a lot of people see it as quite cold-hearted, but it's a protection thing for me. I just don't want to get involved in any of that shit,
Yeah, like they say, you can't choose your family.
No, you can't.
And, I mean, let's be honest, the best thing you can do with sort of whatever, I mean, not to put labels, but like manipulative people, is to distance yourself from them, especially if you're not that way inclined.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's
manipulative too. But I mean, like you said, you get thicker skin.
Yeah, that's it. Everything's in hindsight once you're grown up. I don't feel like you're growing up a lot of the time, but now that you're raising kids, when I'm now raising children and looking back on your childhood, you sort of reflect on things and you're like, oh, it's like things at the time feel shit, and then same where I grew up at the time, it was like, this sucks. Grew up in the middle of bloody nowhere in a real rural area, but then looking back on it, you're like, fuck, my childhood was amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah.
So it's all in hindsight, I think.
It's same as you too. I remember my dad sitting me down when I was about sort of 16, 17, and he was like, if you keep hanging out with these people and you keep doing this dumb shit, you're either going to end up, in jail or seriously injured, or worst case scenario, dead in that. And I don't know, it's weird. Not many people listening to their folks, and they sort of just give them the fingers and just, you know, go out and get it. But I don't know, there's always been that level of respect there with me and my dad. Like, I was like, man, he's done a lot for me from an early age. He could have just bailed and left me in the shit, you know. So waking up to that was a pretty good thing.
Yeah, you've got to look back on your teenage years and be thankful that you like self-corrected your path. Yeah.
Well, like you said the other day, how you were saying to your wife, like, you know, you're telling her all these things, and she's like, "Are you being serious? Or are you making this shit up?" You're like, "No, I'm dead serious. Like, these things happened."
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, she grew up on the Gold Coast, and she had came from a pretty, not a great childhood. Her mum was scraping by with a bunch of kids, you know, the same thing, just in a different place. But some of the shit, she's like, whatever, like, you know, find like photo proof. I'm like, that was us. She's like, the fuck? It was out of control. I was like, we weren't out of control. We just had no adults to fucking
and I just
do anything. They didn't care.
Yeah, I say to people too, I'm just lucky we didn't get caught. I don't like it's that simple
exactly.
for us, like, you know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But yeah, I just
yeah. So obviously that would have been a pretty rough thing to process when you were young. I mean, I don't want to dive too much into that if you're not wanting to talk about it.
No,
but
and it's all good. It's all,
you know,
it's
having growing up without it, like having, as you know, like now, me losing my mum a couple of years ago, and again, like the thing, like the relationship I had with my mum is she was great, but she always put her relationships first. So, you know, after the age of like 8, when her and my dad went separate ways, you know, she was sort of, I'd spend a little bit of time with her, but she was always off, you know.
It's not nice feeling second best though when you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So sort of a small bit of that, but yeah, I couldn't imagine growing up like without one at all, basically, which is what's happened to you.
From
a super
dad
young age.
Everything, man. He taught me everything. Like, I would not be the person that I am today without him, like, without a doubt. There's no doubt in my mind, Like I said, we didn't have like much, but he just made fun out of everything. Like, I was in the garage or something, like, where I was mowing the lawns, like, everything was fun, you know, like, and it was just a real cool scenario, you know.
That's
I
a
always
dad's
felt
job,
real
isn't it?
safe. There was no, just never, it never felt, you know what I mean? Like, when you're a kid, you never know, like, oh, we're really poor, or we're just making ends meet, or like, you don't really know, you know, like, you don't know how deep it goes.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you.
Yeah.
When you're in it, you just, like you say, like, you look back and you go, oh, shit, you know. It's the same with my old man, you know. I was like, fuck, he was grinding to like survive.
Yeah.
When he tried to ship us to a different place to like make our lives better, you know, and all this. At the time, you didn't realize it because he was just doing it and making it happen, you know. It's the same with your old man, you know, like you just supplied everything you needed, you know, and you're just like, oh, just a kid living your life.
Yeah, man.
And you look back at when you're older and you're like, oh, right.
It really
must have been a grind for him. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's another thing, like,
yeah. There's so many wild stories that I can think of in that. But yeah, I mean, I was very lucky. Like, they pushed me to go the whole way through school, which, man, was, you know, I never thought that would be on my radar personally. Not to say that I was bad at school. I just sort of, you know what it's like when you're a tradie as well. You sort of just like, oh, school's not really for me. But they pushed me to carry on staying, and I reckon that final year of schooling for me was just like one of probably some of the best years of my life as well, just with mates and things like that. So I'm real grateful I did that.
Good, eh?
Yeah. And then pretty much after school, I ripped into the building, and Christchurch earthquake happened. And I was working at like a commercial job in Wellington, which was just, man, I was like losing 160 as an apprentice. And then like my boss started not paying me, and I was doing like 80-hour weeks. Like, I was literally getting there at 6 in the morning, and I was leaving at like 1 in the morning. It was just awful.
Right.
And, we didn't even have a computer. And I remember I went to the library, got on TradeNet, and I just found a builder to work for in Christchurch, and just calling up and being like, I'll get on the ferry tomorrow, you know, give me a week and I'll get on the ferry. And yeah, that's what happened. And came down south, and I've sort of never looked back at.
How old were you when you did that?
18. It was June 26, 2011, I think.
All right. It's so funny. It's so funny how you meet people, and like you were saying, like how similar your paths are. Like I left up north. I left Whangarei for Australia when I was 18. It's just so weird. Like, you know, you chat to people and you're like, your stories are so similar. You're like, what the, is there like a recipe? Like, why are we
Super
so
wild.
the same?
Yeah, super
Trippy.
crazy.
So you've been in Christchurch ever since?
Yeah, man. So yeah, I met my ex-wife when I was 19 down here, and I won't talk about too much about cutting through building careers. I don't want to bore anyone too much, obviously, but you know, like I was just building, and then worked for another builder, and just slowly worked my way up. Got my own place that after work, and would just slave, and then like, to speed things up, before you know it, my old man got really sick and got bowel cancer, and then it was like bowel, liver, and lung, and he was sort of rapidly sort of decreasing. So, I just remember getting the call about it, and then the next day I went to work, and I was like, I'm going to be flying up and north to Wellington to get my dad's house ready for sale. Like, you can either keep me on or this is the end. And they were like, oh, we don't really want to keep you on. And I was like, sweet as, mate, later. Packed up all my tools, and I just started flying back and forth, got my dad's house sold, and then he moved in with us. Did like radiation, chemo, all the bullshit, and then eventually said no to it all. But he got 2 solid years of us together. I didn't work. I just solely took care of him for 2 years, and we just kicked ass.
So, I mean, sounds pretty obvious, but he's obviously not here today.
No. So he passed away. I was 26 years old, and he was 52 years old.
When was that? How long ago did that happen?
6 years ago. Yeah, I'm 32 now. So
I didn't realize that. I'm sorry to hear that, bro. That's rough. But
oh, man,
on the positive side, you definitely made the right move by spending
I'll never
that time
regret
with
any
him.
decision that I make in life. Like, when I lock in, I lock in, and that's what I'll have to deal with for the rest of my life. And I definitely think that was a positive one.
Yeah.
But
I
mean,
that's heavy.
2 solid years of just us was so sick. It was awesome. So, as bad as the scenario was, it was a really, really nice scenario.
I feel like that's what it's all about, though. Like a shit situation like that, it's all about what good can you pull out of it, sort of thing. And making a decision like that to like spend the 2 whole years hanging out with him, and I'm sure you did plenty of yarning and sharing stories and stuff. Like those are all memories that you'll never.
There was a lot of story.
forever.
There was a lot of storytelling on both ends.
Hmm.
Actually, like probably one of the most like funniest stories between me and him is I said to him, like, I always remember from like a real early age, like from 4 years old kind of thing. I always remember like pink and purple, like bright vivid neon lights, and I always remember like half naked girls, like tits. And he's like, yeah, well, your auntie, like my sister, like she used to run the Lacoan like bathhouse, like a brothel in Lower Hutt. And he's like, I'd work all day, and then I'd go bounce for them all night to earn more money for us, and I'd just leave you with like the strippers and that. They'd just leave me at the bar as a kid, and they'd take care of me.
Growing up in a brothel, that adds another layer to the childhood story.
I never knew until
you
obviously
just had a fond memory of it somewhere tucked away.
Until I'm like 24, and I'm like, man, this is just not adding up. What's the go? So, and like my mates love that story. I think it's the best. Like we had some great stories, and he met some of my closest mates. So
yeah.
But even before all that, like hardened me up. Like my 2 best mates, one passed away, committed suicide, and then literally when Dad got sick, like a few weeks later, my best mate from school did the same thing. Well, we didn't know it was suicide at the time, but it's developed in the last sort of 4 years that it was suicide as well. So I'd already lost 2 of my best mates, and then I just got hit with like my old man getting cancer and that, and it was pretty rough time for a wee while for me. After Dad died, I tried to, everyone's like, you should go see a counsellor and that. And I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. Like anything to try and make it stop, So tried that for a little bit. Wasn't really me. I just sort of found that talking to my mates about it as much as possible. But, that saying that time heals all is actually, it's pretty relevant. So.
Yeah, you don't know it at the time though, when you're dealing with grief.
No, you just feel it's raining shit all day, every day.
Bro, it's heavy. Had you dealt with grief before all that or not?
Nah, like my grandfather, my dad's dad passed away when I was really young. So I had like this really, dare I say it, like clean run. And then, when my first mate passed away, it was like, fuck. Like I took weeks off to try to figure that out. And then, yeah, like I just never thought I'd be the one getting the call that, you know, like, oh, I've got cancer and it's not looking good, you know. I just never thought that'd be me. But yeah, so,
That's a
yeah,
rough run.
yeah, it was, real rough. It was a lot of like, why me, you know? Which is probably pretty selfish now I think about it as well. Like, you know,
but at the time, like I said, when you're in the middle of something, you look at it a lot differently than the way you look at it later down the track. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like with the grandparent thing, you know, like if your grandparents, you know, like I've lost all my grandparents, but they all lived full lives and they all lived long, you know, to a good age. It's when you lose people suddenly, you know, if it's mates or someone who's younger or whatever, that's the grief that fucking really nails you, bro.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Like my dad passed away in my house actually, so it was literally like I woke up in the morning, his brother Glenn was there, who's just been awesome, my uncle, and yeah, he was like, he's all good in that. I was like, oh, it's weird, he's like not breathing, and then that was it. So it was but like Dad was pretty like, you know, he was like, this is what I want, this is what's going in place. He cremated him in a Warriors jersey. You gotta go out in the Warriors jersey, bro. I just try to find the fun, good things, the positive things.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say, there's no real like positive that comes from like cancer and stuff, but I guess on that side you get time. You know, at least you got time.
I was lucky
he
to
would have
get
had time to process it too. You know.
Yeah.
It's obviously like I'm not religious and I never really have been, but everyone's got different views, you know, around death and that whole thing, but you process it all when you go through grief, that's for sure. That you think of like every avenue and every like everything, you know, it's like it's such a journey, bro. It's
such a heavy journey. You got that right.
But just like the childhood shit that you experience though, like if you get through it, you know, like if you get through that mountain of grief and out the other side, there's good things on the other side of it. Like the positive you get from it is that you grow more as a person having gone through that shit, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. Definitely, I'm not religious, and like people can be religious, and that doesn't bother me at all. I think you should totally be able to believe in, you know, whatever you believe in it, for sure. I think it's like totally fine. I've never rinsed anyone out for it, that's for sure. So, but yeah, I remember my dad going in for like, you know, like a cancer like counselling meeting thing, and I remember sitting there with him, and the lady was sort of like, you know, do you believe in anything and stuff like that? And Dad's like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, do you believe anything like God or Buddha and he's like, my brother died at 15, and then 2 years later my mum died, and he's like, their best mates, and I was like, all I believe in at this stage is myself, And I was like, man, I thought it was like the most gangsterous thing I've ever heard, I was like, that's badass. Yeah, I remember that one vividly, yeah.
And how old were you when your other mates passed on that you were talking about?
So I would have been 25 when my best mate Chips died. His name's Stephen, and then I think I was 20. I think I was 22, 23 or 24. Man, it all feels like a blur, you know, like the last 10 years. But young man, 23, 24.
I definitely feel like the older you get, like you just process things differently, you know, like things like grief and different life events that you got to deal with. I feel like you like go even deeper on them, like the older you are, whether it's like a wisdom thing, you know, like you're wiser as a person. So you like think of shit more in depth or something. I don't know, but you know, like, I mean, perfect example. I had a similar scenario, but a lot younger as you, like one of my best mates. I mean, it's hard to believe now, but he took his life when we were 12 years old or whatever.
Yeah, man.
11. I think I was 11. And he had like really full on ADHD and stuff. Like he had, you know, but he was just a kid.
Yeah,
and I still remember
12's young,
dude. And then I mean, they were never sure if it was an accident or what, but going in and seeing him in a casket at that age, like I didn't really process it at that age as how I would process something like that now, you know, because you're just a kid. Like it's like you don't have the mental capacity for grief to really like take hold as much.
And is that almost when you're
older,
you know what I mean? Is it a good thing?
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know. fuck, that's heavy though. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it was
mates
good.
thing's
Yeah.
rough. I mean, parents is real. You know, grandparents is one thing, parents is another thing, but then like mates that you spend a lot of time with
Oh,
on a
man.
weekly
Like,
basis, like, dude, that would have been heavy.
yeah,
You
not
can
having
imagine.
brothers or sisters, like I definitely latch
Mhm.
on to my mates like a lot more,
Yeah.
and I've got like real good ones. You know, I don't have any time for bullshit, so my mates are
Yeah.
we're all pretty tight. So,
All right.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then yeah, sort of after that, about a year and a bit after that, I sort of, I don't know, like things just collapsed in my marriage as well. So, we split up and yeah, sold the house, which was, at first I was really like upset about selling the house because like my father had passed away and so many good memories and I built it with my bare hands and I was so attached but again, it's that next sort of step of like, man, it's just four walls, just move on. Like, you know, it's only going to be, if you hold on to it, like the tighter the rope gets around your hand, right, you're better off just letting go, not getting the rope burn out. So,
That's a good saying.
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's not mine either. I think I picked it up from somewhere, but
Yeah.
I firmly believe in it. You know, you're better off just letting go of the rope, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And then if you do, good things always come.
Man,
You get through those hard things. A good thing always is around the corner, you know.
yeah, well, funnily enough, I moved in with a good mate of mine, Jordan Hahn, well, like best mates, and he separated with his partner actually at the same time. So he was like, she just come live with me, and man, it was epic. It was just a wild few years of being boys.
Timing, eh?
That's what I called it. I remember saying to my partner, my current partner, Aurora, I remember saying to her, I'm like, I just need time to be a boy because I've been like a man for so long that I just need like a bit of shit off my shoulders and just to enjoy stuff. Like I felt like when all my mates in Wellington, they all went to university and they all flatted together, like I missed out on all of that. And I just went straight to like, oh, I want to get qualified. I want a house. I want to do this. I want to do that. Which I don't regret anything, but I just got so serious so fast, you know. It's because I had to as well. You just like I was like made to, you know.
Yeah, well, a lot of that probably goes back to your childhood too, and watching your dad obviously grind through as a single dad, and then you're like in that mode, you know, like shit, I got to get going, you know, and get things happening.
Yeah, well, he pushed me so hard, like you got to work, you got to do this. But I think that was like really heartbreaking for me was when he was down and he was real sick, and he was like, "Fuck," you know, he's like, "This is just it's all a lie," you know. He just said to me, "He's like, man, I wish I worked a little bit less, you know, and just did a little bit more, you know." So I've definitely tried to take that on. Like, it's so strange. But my dad was real into like astronomy and the whole star sign thing, which you'd look at him and you'd not think that, but he loved it. Like, he reckons, like, he was saying to me, he's like, if the moon can control the tides for fishing, right? You reckon the stars ain't doing shit? Like, that's what he'd say to me, you know. He's like, do you reckon the stars mean nothing? So, I don't know, like, I'm not too hocus-pocusy on that sort of thing, but I'm born in October, Libra, so scales, and I always sort of think, if I'm having too much fun and not being, like, responsible enough, I feel really unbalanced and, like, out of whack, and then vice versa. If I'm working too much and not having fun enough, I feel real ill, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, talking about that, like, my mum was obviously, she was a real spiritual, hippie sort of lady for, like, you know, ever since we were kids, always like that. And same thing, you know, like, I was never huge on the star sign stuff. Like, oh, yeah, whatever, you know.
Pretty eerie.
Something she'd always line something out, like, oh, yeah, that's because of this and da-da-da. Be like, all right, whatever. But the thing is, the more you actually, like, not so much lean into it, but just sort of take pieces of that stuff, like astrology or whatever you call it.
Just take your nice one.
Spirituality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like, there is a lot of shit that connects, and then you go, you know, like, it just takes something to happen that is, like, related to that astrology sermon. You're like, actually, like, maybe there is something to this, you know? Like,
yeah. I mean, I always let it cheer me up, man. I'm like, why not? You know?
You've got to be open-minded either way. Like, you've got to be open-minded with that shit, because especially if, like you said, you're not religious, it's like, don't know.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got a path to follow.
I mean, like you said, it's not
from
gospel,
the stars or not.
Yeah. It's not gospel. You just sort of run with it.
Yeah, it's funny, like, talking about that, you know, how you were saying, like, getting going early. I've got a nephew who's early 20s, I think he's 21, maybe 22 now, which is crazy. My sister's only 2 years older than me, and she's got a 21-year-old. She had him at like whatever age, 17 or something. But and I was saying to him when I saw him last about sort of just enjoying your 20s, like go travel, go do all that shit, because like you said, there's so many people, especially in New Zealand, like young crew that jump the gun and they're like, school, whatever, uni, this, that. Next minute they're like fucking late 20s or 30s with, like you say, like the houses and all the shit and fucking tons of debt, and like there's no freedom in that.
And it's
you're straight in the system, you're straight in the system.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think everybody should. I think there's like a rough like design of life that you sort of should follow to like become sort of who you are. I definitely think like your 20s is the years of like, not just sort of experiencing shit, whether it's traveling or like doing all that stuff. And then like once you hit your 30s, you can like, tighten things up a bit, like I'll be 37 in February.
Yeah. Well,
and, it's another funny connection. What did you say your missus' name is?
Aurora.
Yeah. So my daughter's name is Aurora as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
You've said that before. I think we both.
So weird, eh? All these connections, bro.
I've said that.
Yeah. All these connections. And I think more, it's just like the older I get, the more like perspective I have from life, and you like look back on shit and you get, I don't know, you just process it more. And I'm like I was 29 when she was born, because Nikki always wanted kids by 30, but I think she's 6 months older than me. But like, you can see it now where people aren't having kids until, their late 30s, 40s. It's like there's like a timeline, like there's two ways to go about it. Jump in early, build all the life stuff, whether it's like qualifications or building houses, owning home, all the usual stuff. Or there's like the late system where you go and spend the 20s and maybe some of your 30s, whether it's traveling or partying or doing all the life experience, and then you sort of, knuckle down or something. I don't know. It's interesting the way that everybody sort of approaches it.
Kids are 7 and 9. They're about to turn 8, so 8 and 9, and 2 girls. And it's wicked, man. Like it's always going to be different. I never didn't want kids. It just never happened. And I've always been like that cool uncle, I guess you'd say, with like my mates' kids. So it's cool to sort of dip into it now, and sort of, I think being a stepdad's like real fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Dude, parenting is the craziest shit ever.
You can't bottle it up and put it in a jar.
Bro, it like the highest highs, and then like they'll push you to your absolute limit as a person. Yeah. And test you like you've never believed, but then they'll bring you the most joy that you've ever experienced ever, like it's such a, I don't know.
Roller coaster.
They're like, there's a good saying I saw the other day. I was just telling to someone, I think it was on a video, like whether it's a reel or whatever, somewhere online. This guy, and he was saying, there's a huge difference between parents, people with children. And, as a parent, I don't judge anybody else how they raise their kids. We all do it differently. It's like, it's your job to create these little people.
Rule book for it, eh?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do it how you want. I don't really care. I'm just worried about mine, But, and he was saying like the parents are willing to put their life on hold to raise these little creatures, and the people with kids want their life to continue how it's always been, but they just happen to have these little people they got to look after as well, And I was like, man, that is heavy, because it's so true. Like, again, I don't judge anybody, but I see the way I've got my way of raising kids, and I personally love being a parent and being a dad. And I embrace it as much as I can.
You do rad shit with them too. Like, I love it,
dude. Before you know it, they're going to be like teenagers and be like, "Oh, hang out with you, Dad. Like, I'm too cool." And I'm like,
I tell my partner all the time.
Exactly. So we've dedicated. We were definitely of the mind that, okay, if we're going to have children, everything else is secondary. Like career shit, whatever it might be, that can all wait. Put that to the side. At least until they're 3 or 4. That's our sole focus. And we've done that, and obviously Forrest's got another year before he goes to school, and that's another milestone. But I definitely understood that video where I was like, that's so true. Yeah.
And that's again, you can't control who your kids hang out with, and they make them little assholes and shit too,
Yeah. But I feel like that's I don't want to be what they call a helicopter parent.
Yeah.
But the way I see it, it's I made these little people. It's my job to like,
Oh, yeah.
protect them, make sure they live, just like our dad's parents did when we were a kid, like they did their best, it was definitely different times back then, but, I take the job very seriously as much as it like is testing. It's, I don't know, it's such an introspective like thing, becoming a parent, especially once your kids become like these little sassy things full of attitude. You're just like, what are you? Like you were this little, like we were just down in Dunedin because Aurora was born real early, so she was a NICU, and you picture her, she was this tiny little baby in the incubator, and now she's this like sassy 7-year-old. You're like, how did this happen? It's such a, I don't know, it's just such a, maybe I overthink it sometimes, but it's just such a trip, bro.
It is so much fun
sometimes.
It's so much fun though, and like
great.
I've found that like it's not, man, you don't have to spend like a lot on kids. Like they just want to learn from you. They just want to do what you're doing. Like it's, there's so much fun stuff that we do that just doesn't revolve around money or anything like that. Like it's so good,
Well, that's the other thing on the other side. They are bloody expensive little creatures, especially if you want to give them the life that you never had as a kid, like the shit that our two, like, the way they are being raised is like completely, I mean, especially on like the poverty front, is completely opposite to like my upbringing, and like I tell them that, I'm like,
so good too though. That's all I think of. I'm like, man, like I bought them a grass cart, and like we go out and we just take them out on a Sunday, and they just plant around the grass cart, and then I'm like, man, that would like, I love that shit when I was young, but like my model was a lot less, and I just think it's so rad. I think it's shit they'll remember forever, eh?
Yeah. I was telling Aurora the other day that the internet didn't exist when I was a kid, and it just like blew her mind, bro. Like, so I was born in 88. Yeah, when the internet kind of came around in the early 90s, but
people weren't using it though, like they are now.
And like her little brain, she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, see this phone? Like these weren't. This wasn't a thing." She's like, "What?" Like it's like her little, they're growing up in the technology age. For her, that's like, what? How is that even possible? But it's like,
we were telling them that,
I don't know,
like DVDs, like you'd have to go to Blockbuster and like wait. Hopefully your movie's not taken out there, and to afford one, an overnight one, not a weekly one, like
bro.
Netflix wasn't
Friday
around.
night at Blockbuster. Technology is so insane, eh? I was just helping our elderly neighbour yesterday set a new TV up. She's embracing technology. My old mate, her husband Neil, he passed away recently, early this year. So now she's on her own. Yeah. He would never, he was grumpy old fellow. He would never buy technology. No, you don't need that. This will do the job. Blah, blah. So now she's just like, putting up this nice TV. And I was up there setting it up, and I'm like showing her the stuff and like how it all connects, and you just scan the QR code and then it's on the Wi-Fi. You don't even need an aerial anymore. And she's just like, she's 80 odd. She's just like technology, bro, moves so fast. Even like as a millennial kid, like I'm blown away by it. I'm like, and I use it every day, and
I think it's probably the thing I've struggled with the most in regards to leisure day is like, I used to WAG computer class like every day. And I remember my dad saying to me, he's like, "You're gonna regret that, mate. You're gonna need computers, And I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna need computers. Like, I'm just gonna be some old school hot rodders and panel beating or some shit." And boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, it'll be like part of our everyday life now. Such a trip out.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
I've got here in the studio. I've now got a light bulb that I can tell my phone how to change. And I was showing Aurora that, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, I'm standing there, and I'm like, dude, I'm like mind blown by this. She's like, "Oh, yeah." Like it's just normal for her as a kid growing up now,
Yeah, my parents would have magic tricked me with that and just gone, "No, it's just magic, mate. Like, it's just magic, like clapping and shit."
Yeah, technology's a trip. But so let's continue on your storyline. I mean, have you sort of brought us up to current day?
Almost. Yeah, I mean, roughly? I guess one little part that I missed is after my father died, instead of going back to building, I decided to go work at a local engine reconditioning shop that mainly specialises in like V8s and hot rods, which I thought was really cool. So I was there for a few years. I really, really enjoyed it. It's just a renowned place throughout New Zealand too. So it was just really cool to be there in that environment and that. But yeah, sadly left just due to some stuff, and decided to start my own building company. Why not fall back on your trade? I thought better time, now than never. Got back into building. A mate of mine was actually hounding me. He works at Christchurch City Council. He's a park ranger. He's quite high up, hounding me to come on contracts. Started filling out the forms, and now we've still got a really nice council contract, which is really cool. Like, we're in waders and shit, but rebuilding bridges, like walk paths and stuff. Like, we're in nature, we're out in the middle of nowhere. It's so much fun. So
definitely got to appreciate that part of building, being outdoors.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, for sure. So, and then what's that?
I was just going to say, so when you went and worked at that machine shop, was that after your dad passed?
Yeah, so me and my old man have always been into cars, and I just sort of went out there one day on a bit of a limb. Me and my old man built a truck together, an old Dodge sweepline, and still got that, obviously, it'll never leave my side. I just went out there and just said, you guys are after someone or an apprentice in that, and just even out there, he's just the man, he's the best boss ever. Nothing but.
Do you reckon that change was sparked from your old man's enthusiasm for cars, or did you just need a change in career in general?
I don't know. Yeah, everything felt right, to be honest, but I think I just needed a change. I think I just didn't want to go back to the building world. I was tired of time constraints and bosses that would try to whip me to the bone and then just be like, oh, sorry, whatever, I was just tired of it all. And I guess I was a little bit worried about going into like a high intensity zone like that and then snapping or falling out or just, I don't know. Yeah. A change of pace was good. Something that I absolutely loved. I think waking up every day. I don't think there was one day that I woke up and thought, oh, fuck, I've got to go to work. Like, I just couldn't wait to get to work.
You legitimately loved it by the sound of it.
Man, if I could go back, I would.
There's a pattern I've noticed, like with the, not to harp on about the grief thing, but there's one thing that I've noticed with that journey with the majority of people that experience losing someone and going through grief, it always triggers like a change, whether it's a change in like career or like they'll pack up and leave and go to a different country, or there's always like a change.
Something
and I think
big.
it's because it's that introspective like journey you go on of like you basically you reevaluate your whole life. Well, your whole existence basically, and you're like, fuck, what am I doing? And in that case, that's why I asked, because I'm like, because of the grief that you were feeling, was it time for a change and do something different just to sort of like, mix it up a bit?
Yeah, man. Well, I thought it was just all a lie, and I was like, man, I'm just hitting reset. And I don't know. It's probably like a little bit of the downfall for my marriage too. It's just I changed completely as well. And there's obviously other stuff going on that end as well, but I won't go into it too much because it's just sort of unfair, I think, just talking about it when someone else can't about themselves. But
yeah, there's two sides to every story.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, but I definitely was like, there is one way that I'm living my life, and everyone can get out of the way, So.
Yeah, but, that's not a bad thing though. Sometimes.
No, it's been really great. It's been great, and I'm just lucky to have such epic mates, really, really good friends. So,
well, let's talk about these hats that you've made, which are fucking epic. Because obviously, like the whole thing with doing this pod, obviously from like my perspective, is I don't know, without being too much of like a fucking overzealous like motivation dude. The same thing, how you like when you work for yourself and you do things a bit differently, and you don't, whether you went down the traditional path and then got out of it or whatever. When you do that, I feel like there's like this need to like want to inspire others, because it's like, yeah, it's a grind, but once you have like, I guess, a bit of freedom in life and you're not a slave to the fucking 9-to-5 clock, and that's kind of like what I want to do with talking to people like you who have like started some shit and like actually done it, and not just fucking talked about it, like you've jumped in and you've had an idea and executed on it and made something happen and brought it to life, and now all these people are like rolling around with these hats, and it's like this creation. And that's the whole thing of like inspiration, is like talking to people so they can, I feel like everyone's got like a story of life that leads them up to a point where like they actually take the steps to make some shit or do something, or whether it might be a product or whatever they're trying to do.
That's definitely your target market for this. I reckon it's perfect,
because that's the shit that inspires me too.
Like you said, it's funny, like you and me are the same, where I'll say stuff like, I'm like, I don't want to sound all wanky and motivational, because there is so much of it. Like you said, it's oversaturated. And also,
Yeah, bro.
we didn't grow up with social media. So, like, every time that I get behind the camera, I feel like I'm some young kid selling fake Nikes and Pokemon cards. You know what I mean? Like, it feels so unnatural to me.
Yeah,
Being behind the camera, I
yeah.
feel like, oh man, like, I just want to make sure it's me and I'm not being fake, you know?
Yeah.
Authenticity is
Yeah.
key with anything, I believe.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is how you came up with the idea of making a fucking hat with a pencil holder. I know I can understand where it came from, putting the pencil pie in the ear, having been in the building game a little bit myself, but
Yeah.
like,
So,
how did you get to this point, bro, when the caps are actually here and people are wearing them and loving them?
yeah, so pretty much, my mate, Dan Cowie's an upholsterer here. He runs Moto Trim Limited. Awesome dude. We usually go around for a few beers in the afternoon. My mate John, that we work together all the time. And I was just sitting there and I'm sick and tired of having my pencil behind my ear, and I take my earmuffs off and the pencil falls to the ground, lead breaks, you know. And yeah, Dan was just like sewing something up and John was wearing a hat, and I don't know, my mind just went, hold on, stop what you're doing. We sewed this patch on, tried it out for like a week, and then the pencil started dropping out of John's head and was like, it's not working. So we tried like a lot of research and development in different ways. We went through a lot of like shitter hats, obviously, like we just had lying around. And then randomly, Dan had like a rubber USA badge. Actually, the hat is like, it's rubber hat. Dan had a USA rubber badge hat. And we sewed it on, and then we realized like when you chuck a pencil in it, it holds. And we're like, rubber's the key, like it's silicon technology, right? So we just started, I really like that kind of style of hat, breathable and like easy to clean, obviously being a tradie. So I took a gamble and ordered 100 in. Well, no, actually we got suppliers, obviously, trying out styles and things like that. And then when we were happy, I ordered the first 100 in. And then I was pretty nervous, and because I'd never done anything like that before. And I randomly just started up an Instagram. And then I sort of thought, how am I going to market it, I guess? And I just sort of like, what do I like when I scroll? Started sort of brainstorming and things like that. And then posted them up. And then I sort of just went through Instagram, and I didn't find people with like 50,000 followers or 20 or 10 or whatever. I just literally would be like, okay, they're a builder. I like their content, and a bonus, they're actually wearing a hat. Because what's the point of sending someone a hat? Like if they got 50,000 followers, if they don't wear a hat in any of their videos, what's the point? Like they're not going to want to wear it, you know? So I was really breaking it down, and then I started sending them out to a few people, and yeah, we were getting like really good feedback. And then people were asking, where do I buy them? And then I was like, shit, I got to get a website, got to start this up. But I think 100 went in like 4 weeks. And I was,
That's a good aim.
yeah. And like, I made sure like we tested the hats for, and 6 months I wore the hat at work. And I was like, I just want to make sure this isn't like a gimmick. But the reason like why I knew it wasn't a gimmick is because I'd go out to people's house on the weekend. And the only other hat that I wear, by the way, is a Warriors hat. But I'd go out to people's house on the weekend, and they'd ask me, oh, can we do like a deck plan for my house? And I'd go straight to my hat, and I wouldn't have it on there. And I was like, this is awesome. This is actually like a tool belt on my head. Like, I need this, you know? Yeah.
Realization moment. There's something here.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I had some really interesting feedback. And then, the main thing was Dan was like, you need to do a baseball cap style. People are going to want that. And I was like, yeah, completely. I'll back you. We'll do that. We'll get some color ranges in. Because like everything, I get samples in, and they're really inexpensive. So it sucks getting samples in because they're just making one-offs. But I feel like I need to see the product before I order 100. And then I'm like, oh man, that wasn't what I thought. And then obviously you've got yourself a Suns Out, Guns Out, big neck flap one to protect the ginger's neck.
Yeah.
When I brought that yellow one in with the camo, Aurora was like, you are not going to be able to sell one of those. That is the most serious. And I was like, you don't get it. You don't get the practicality behind it. It's amazing. It's like, I'm calling it. It's the longest neck flap hat in the game. Like it's massive.
Yeah.
And then, again, I think we sold like 102 weeks of those, and it just went gangbusters.
Yeah.
So,
far out.
Yeah, there's
signs were there.
And development though, still going on. So obviously we just released the new casuals. So, and they're all full sweat proof. So that's sort of where
different colorways, eh?
Yeah, different colorways, and that's just where I'm angling it. Like tradies are wearing it, so it should be sweat proof, it should be water resistant, easy to clean, and like the amount of times you destroy hats, cotton hats, you just sweat through them, and it's just the natural normal thing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
people demo
Yeah.
hats. So,
Far out.
yeah. But we've done some,
Building a brand is crazy. Yeah.
I said on the podcast I was on Monday, I was saying to David, I was like, I met with this dude, Ollie from Sea Stuff, and he's like, you're a marketing genius stuck in a tradie's body and you just don't know it, you know? Like, that's the first thing he asked me. He's like, how long have you been studying marketing for? And I'm like, never.
You're like,
So,
fuck, I just make it up on the fly, bro. What are you talking
Yeah,
about? Just
yeah.
a natural.
Yeah, I went to it's run by Be Creative. Went to this meeting this morning, man, and it was like how content helps you sell products and that. And I thought it'd be a really interesting thing to go to, which it was. But yeah, you go around the room and there's like, you know, what do you do before you film content, things like that. And a lot of people were, I do this, do this, do that. It got to me, man. I'm just like, well, I usually have to have 3 to 5 beers, sort of warm up a little bit, and then then we
Loosen
just
up a
film,
bit.
you know.
Authenticity, yeah.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm awkward behind the camera usually, so having like a couple of beers just really makes me be who I am. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, whatever it takes to loosen up. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, and you know, obviously watching your little. I mean, I won't call it little, but a year is, you know, it's pretty young in the brand / business sense, you know, like as you know, but watching it like grow is pretty rad. And it's I don't know, it just trips me out. Like I don't know how we linked on there. I think on Instagram, I think I followed you, and then you might have or whatever. Either way, I was like, dude, these are the shit, and I brought some, and I've been wearing this thing like every day ever since. But I don't know, I trip out and like what you said, like the marketing side, where you're obviously a one-man band building this brand, but like everything seemed so dialed in from the start, because you like watch it and you're like, oh, it's just him, like, you know, shipping them out, doing all the stuff, but then like the designs, the little whatever you call the man and all that shit.
Yeah, I just
like,
call that
man,
the melty
this
boy.
is like a, you know, it's like when you start a brand, you know, a lot of the time the way it goes is you start with pretty shit product, and as you sell more, you sort of tighten things up and make it better. Where I feel like with these, you've just gone like, again, I wasn't there for those early batches, but I guess like, you know, when it's a new brand, you don't expect the quality to be better than all these huge bloody companies hats that I've got, which are way better, you know. It's like, I don't know, just personally, I was blown away by it. I was like,
Just
holy
wanted
shit,
to lock and load,
these are
man.
legit.
Yeah, like even down to the packaging tape, packaging paper, I was like, look, I want my brand to look like it's been there for the last 50 years, like off the bat. You know, I want to make sure that people are like, holy shit, like, and it's really interesting as well. Like some big brands, and I'll, you know, I don't need to say them, but some really, really big brands and big companies have approached me, and it's kind of just like when they talk to me, they're like, hey, can we talk to, you know, your manager or your, you know, your marketing member or whatever, and I'm like, man, it's all me, you know, like I'm just.
You're looking at him, dude.
Yeah, but in saying that, I can't say full credit. My mate Jordan Garvin, he does all my graphic design stuff. Like he is the reason why the logo what it is. Like I went around to see him and I told him about the idea, and he's like, can't remember if it was me or him, but he was just like, oh, it's just called lead head. You're jamming lead in your head. And I was like, run with that. Do whatever you want. I was like, I fully trust you because he is the man. And yeah, he just came up with that lead head logo, and I was like, that's it, perfect. Don't change a thing. We're rocking with that. He's drawing up some epic stuff for me at the moment too. There's going to be like a lot of exciting stuff coming.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured that you weren't the graphic designer behind it. No offense, but
I'm actually not bad at art. I've done art for a very long time, but
there you go. Bring out a signature model.
well, I'm actually going to let Garvin bring out his signature model and let him do whatever he wants on it, put a big spin on it, just to say thanks. Because like he's doing all this after work for me, man, and like he'll message me at like 2 a.m. sometimes, like, hey bro, got it all done, rah, 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 and I'm like, it's crazy, man. I really do appreciate it. Again, having great mates, you know.
Yeah. That's what good friends do for each other, eh? Far out.
I don't think Leadhead would be anywhere today if it wasn't for the community and the sport, like the support network that I get. But yeah, like you said, you got people like yourself that message me like, oh, I just had someone approach me about my hat at the pub or whatever. Or if people are at big events, they're like, oh, we spotted one in the wild at a Foo Fighters concert or whatever. I'm like, no one needs to do that, but they do it. And I think they feel like they know me and I know them, and it's just real cool, you know? Like I don't want that to ever disappear. Like I want Leadhead to be a community-based thing because I love that. I love the interaction.
Yeah, it's what's about. I feel like people are, you know, like especially here in New Zealand with, you know, as you probably know, the whole tall poppy sort of vibe that people put out when you do actually have a crack and you go, yeah, fucking not only, you know, I've made the product, here it is. People are like, oh shit, like, yeah, it's not all talk, like, fuck, I'm going to buy that, like, and support them. You know, I feel like there's like the whole, that side of it where people will try and fucking drag you down. But then once you actually do it and take action and don't just talk shit, people are like, okay, he's actually doing it. Like, okay, I'll buy those for sure. And like you said, you just like build that community of people that love the brand and support it and buy it.
My dad taught me that, just to like not be a shit talker. He's like, there's nothing worse than someone shoulda, woulda, coulda, if, buts, maybes. He's like, if you don't want to do it, just shut your mouth. If you are going to do it, show it, like, do it, you know? So, I think that's
be an action taker.
Massively, you know?
Yeah. I'm definitely learning that too. Like,
you're doing your photography and stuff's wicked. And then, like, even the videos you just out fly fishing and hunting and stuff, I'm like, I just get so engaged in it. I reckon it looks so good.
But that's all by design. And that's why I try and encourage others. Like, fuck, bro, to get to the point where I'm at now where I do it for a job. Like, this was a pipe dream from 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I picked up a camera,
no one sees the hard
No, that's it.
Yeah.
They see you doing something you love and loving life, and they don't see the, like I said, like the 10 years of hard work that you did beforehand, you know?
Yeah.
Can you still hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely. Yep, hear you real good.
Sorry, my headphones just went a bit funny. But yeah, it's like, don't know, like you said, be an action taker. Don't just talk shit down the pub that like, oh yeah, that'd be a cool hat brand. It's like, you know, put some, because obviously to get a brand to the point even where you're just getting samples, like it takes a lot of money and a lot of time and effort, you know, and like you said, people don't see that shit. They don't see you putting all the money in that it takes to start a brand or a business. You know, they just see the end product that is rad. So it's like, take action.
And again, like, I didn't know where to start either. I was actually just very lucky that a friend of Dan's, Henry, he'd like started up his own motorcycle pants business. Yeah, it was just lucky because he's like, oh, you got it, you know, you can find suppliers, you can do it, and like that real motivated me. I was like, oh shit, I can do it. All right, then like, if, you know, this dude's doing it, why can't I do it? You know, and again, that's why I got 100 in at the start. I didn't go crazy, and that's like advice for anyone, I reckon, is get your first 100 backs in, and then see how it's going to go. You know? Like if that had bombed, I would have been like, well, we all got some one-off leaded hats for the starter, and then you know. Unlucky, you know? But there's a lot to be said for the fail cheaply moniker, or whatever you call it, you know, like, there's nothing
test
wrong.
it out.
I've never worried about failing in my life. Like, I'm always just like, I'll learn from something will come from it.
Yeah. But if you're gonna do it, like you said, do it smartly. Don't order in 10,000 hats and then stress out because you can't sell them, you know. You got to like gradually build over time. It's just like any project or anything you're trying to do, like, you know, it's not a fucking overnight pill. You got to take a pill and it happens overnight. It's like it's a long journey to get there.
Yeah.
You've got to embrace it.
When I started, man, like, obviously I didn't have any idea about technology. Like, I sucked. And my mate that passed away, actually, his sister helped me build the website up from the start. She's a web designer, which was just awesome. And she really stole me in the right path. But like, I was getting orders in, and then I'd be packing them at night. And then I'd just go to the post office at lunchtime, like every day, and drop them in.
Yeah.
I had no couriers set up or nothing.
I said, that's the hustle, eh?
Oh, yeah, it was rogue.
Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. But now I've got, like, I'm set up with Go Sweet Spot, and a courier's picking them up from Moto Trim every day and stuff. And I'm like, this is just, like, life's good. Yeah, it's easy, you know? People ask me, they're like, oh, you must be creaming it. You're making heaps of money. And I'm like, I'm just reinvesting. I'm just trying to keep bringing out something cool for someone, and I'm just developing. Like, the making the big money and stuff, that's like 5-10 years, you know? Like, I just, at the moment, I'm enjoying being in control of it, and it's just so much fun. Like, I just love it. Yeah, bro, playing the long game in anything is the key. You've got to there's a lot of that with like young crew now, you know, that short-term mindset. They all want fucking everything to happen like this, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. But if you play it long term, Washington saying training day, bro, it's chest, not fucking checkers. Yeah, exactly. That's, I guess, you know, like people like you who have done it, that's why you've got to say that shit, you know, and like put it out there without being a broken record, you know. You got to be like, look, takes work. It's the same with like what I do with the photography shit. You just got to start and go, yeah, in 10 years' time, this is what I want to be doing. That's exactly what I did. Yeah. And it's all come to fruition, you know, and it's just like you just set that path and guide it. So, yeah, and
Now, because we're on that topic, what's the future? Like, what are you thinking for the future of Leadhead?
Well, currently we're tackling Aussie right now. So now on our website, I haven't announced it yet, but now on our website, you can get orders to Australia now, which is a huge thing to me because it took me a very, very, very long time for it to be dialed to the point where I'm like, I know you're going to get your package within 7 to 10 days, because that's what I wanted. I'm like, no one wants to be messed around either. So I feel like opening the floodgates to Australia is going to be pretty crazy. There's like 25 million people there. So,
do you ship the product from New Zealand to there?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
Obviously there is 3PL and stuff like that. I'm just going to see how it goes. Again, I'm just testing the waters, run it out. And then if it goes nuts, then I'm in a store, Safeline Products in Bathurst, and they went really well. They went really well over there. So it would be nice to find like little retailers. But again, I'm not interested in like real big retailers. I just think Leadhead's so nice and cool and niche, and I just want to keep it away from big corporate.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a sort of a timeline of big brands, eh? They start small, they grow to a point, some big corporate buys them out, next minute they're in fucking Kmart, it's just this weird...
Yeah. No, and again, not like bad-mouthing anyone that has signed in with big people and that style, like, good on them. If that's your goal, epic.
Get your money.
I'm all for it. I'm just running something that, again, it's like a community and it's like really cool and people are messaging me and stuff. And it's cool. I love how cool it is.
It's a cool feeling, eh? Yeah.
It's
having that community, bro. Community is everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's for sure. Especially if it's all like good shit too. Like they're all like, dude, like the product's legit, which is the case because it's such a good product.
I appreciate it.
You started on the front foot with having such a good product, it's like you can't really go wrong.
But no one wants shit. We were discussing that the other day. Like, I'm again not bagging out these brands, but like, Carters and Placemakers, and they just give you out free shit hats. I don't want it. Just keep it. Like, you gotta give me something. Give me something kind of good quality that I'll be stoked with,
Dish out Leadhead hats. Might cost them a bit, but hey, it'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, I've had big companies approach me, but the question for me always is like, are you handing them out for free? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, if you can get one for free, why would you buy a Leadhead from me? Like, there's got to be a bit of a line in the sand somewhere. Yeah,
well, like you said, you sort of dabbled in that at the start. And I remember when I first started talking to you, I was like, bro, I'm getting on there and buying them. You're fucking giving me shit. I'm supporting this small shit all the way, and I do that with everything. Like, and that's the misconception. That's the misconception with like things like Instagram. I do work with certain brands, and don't pay for their product. But
I didn't even know that. You were so passionate about getting a Sun's Out gun out. I was like, sick. Like, let's make it happen,
dude. If it's a small brand or whatever. Especially if it's New Zealand based, because I worked with a few different overseas brands and they were always just shit. They were just shit to deal with, and they just always try and shaft you. And that's where I sort of jumped and only started doing stuff with NZ based brands. But like if it's small, like I'm like, take my money, like I support that shit all the way because people having a crack is so important.
I love the collabs that we've achieved. Like we've done really cool collaborations with like just great Kiwis, like even the Rock FM, man, they were so good to deal with. And like then,
I saw that.
I thought it'd be kind of big corporate and overshadowed and shit. It wasn't. It was just me dealing with a dude, and like it was just passionate. It was awesome. And
that's
then teaming up with Beers, with Troy and Jamie, and that has been incredible. Obviously, I love their restaurants and I love their beers as well, obviously. But it's just cool dudes, and we're just doing cool stuff, and I really like it.
Is that the beer place in Christchurch that you do some stuff with?
Yeah, bro. I'm going to send you some beers after this anyway.
What's it called? What's the place called?
It's called Beers. Is
it a brewery?
What's that?
Is it a brewery?
No, it's like barbecue place, but they use breweries throughout Christchurch. It's really cool.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they also own Shaka Bros and Beers by Bacon Bros as well. Bacon Brothers. So
gotcha. Yeah, I think I've heard of them.
It's all pretty hectic, but again, just like wicked crew, wicked staff, like they're just all really nice.
Yeah.
I've always eaten there and I've always drunk in their beers as well. So that just sort of how that came about is I was sort of gassed up one November at the pub with the boys, and we're all talking and that, and I just messaged Beers and I was like, should we do a Leadhead lager like as a joke? And they messaged me back and they're like, how about February? I was like, fuck, all right, sweet, we're on. So
shit, I'm in there now.
Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rad.
And
so
again,
you've got your own beer.
Yeah, but like ask, like every no is supposed to do a yes, right?
Yeah. I've definitely some of these young crew that I sort of help with the photo shit, and like working with brands, a similar concept. I'm like, just fucking ask. The worst people can say is no. Like, that's how shit happens. That's how shit gets done. As someone reaches out and says, "Hey, do you want to fucking do this or whatever?"
Like, don't be annoying, but yeah, just ask. Like, it's
Yeah, can't be afraid of a no, eh?
yeah, especially
sure.
over a message too. Like, or if they leave you on red or whatever, you're just like, "Oh, yeah, sweet, mate. Like, no stress.
Yeah,
Like,
guess it's a no. It's all good.
all good." Yeah, because are you
That's
tied in
rad.
with Hunter's Element now? Or?
Yeah, so I do some work with them and, a few other brands, and again, talking about like the relationship thing that you were talking about, that's always been the basis of sort of, like wanting to work with Kiwi brands. But when I do like talk to them and sort things out, it's always like, I just want a relationship with products that I believe in that, it's a good long-term relationship. I'm not on some fucking influencer bullshit.
No, you're keen to lock in because you're passionate
do
about
this
it.
for one video and all this bullshit, which I've done contracts like that before, and it's really weird. So yeah, with all the outdoor shit, it's all just like ambassador, like relationship based, which is essentially you represent their brand. I mean, just like I do for nothing for your company when I'm out and about, and people, I'm like, yeah, give them a sales pitch, or like, I'm wearing, Hunter's out. Oh yeah, this, it's like you're an ambassador. You represent the brand as a person. You're not so much like a salesman of their brand, but you wear the shit. When people ask about it, you talk to them. You represent it in a good light, and that's what I'm interested in. Like,
I know, I love that. That's the same when we're in Daddy's Peak Tool Belts. He's a dude in Dunedin that makes custom tool belts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. Like, the whole Kiwi business, like tradie things, all like really intertwined now, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You got Thornton doing these saw skins, which is like full rain jackets essentially for your drop saws and stuff. Rain in Auckland and like in New Zealand in general, it comes in an hour and then it goes. So why would you pack your shit up? And it's like, that's amazing. And you got Regan from the Goodroll, and man, he's helped me out so much. Like, me and him have had big conversations. I actually had a lot to thank for him as well. Like, he really has guided me, because he said to me at the start, he's like, I wish someone could have told me this through the beginning of my journey and like what to dodge and stuff like that. And man, it's been so helpful. He's such a good dude. So yeah.
What does he make? What's his product?
The Goodroll. It's like a ruler especially made for builder. It's phenomenal. It's an absolute game changer.
Gotcha.
I can't, correct me if I'm wrong on the stat. I think he's been around for 6 years. I could be wrong there, but it's amazing.
He's
I
a
can't
bit
live
further
without
down
it,
the
that
track.
way. Yeah, can't be not in my tool belt.
It's funny, when you look at all the products of like, it's all like a lot of product based stuff is like it's a problem solve, like you with the pencil and the ear, there's a problem, you solve it with a product, it's the same thing. It's like, it's such a core concept of like, like a product based business.
Oh yeah.
It's all just like solving these small problems that we have in life.
Yeah.
Same with
totally.
old mate's ruler and all that.
Yeah. Well, one of my really, really, really good friends, he just lost his left arm. In a workplace incident, but I won't go into that because that's still going on or whatever. But he's the best dude you've ever met in your life. But I took him out the other day, and I was sort of saying to him, like, I've just got this. I said, I know it sucks, man, but like, I've got this like feeling in my gut that like you'll like create some product for people with one arm, and it will just go nuts. Like, I've just got this feeling that it's a shitty chapter currently, but like the next chapter is going to be like, holy,
that journey.
Yeah.
You might have just planted the seed into his head, just saying that one thing, and then 5 years down the track, something will come along. You'll be like, see?
Oh man, he's such a positive dude. Anyway, man, he deserves everything. Yeah. So
yeah, that's rough.
Oh man, I'm not sure if you've had like big surgeries and that, but I've had some pretty gnarly surgeries that have like, it's definitely more of a mental thing than a physical thing, is what I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, other than a few, casts and broken bones and shit, I haven't really had anything major.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine that.
No. Oh, man, neither. Like, it's a wild journey, yeah. So.
Not having one of these to, I mean, where would humans be if we didn't have these things?
Yeah, well, that's how like good he is. He sent me a video the other day, and it's him holding a banana, and he's like, well, that's me fucked. So I don't know how to peel it.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's humorous. Like, I'm glad, like, doesn't let that die, you know what I mean? So.
there'll be full robotic arms in no time.
Oh, yeah,
Like, I mean, they already exist, but they'll only get better.
Yeah, luckily he will be getting like a really nice prosthetic because they saved a lot of the nerves in that, which is just a relief. Like again, like bad scenario, but like the best outcomes, you know, are coming from it.
That's where people like you've got to step in and like remind them of that, the positive that always comes from the negative, you know.
Yeah,
Shit situation always leads to a good one.
He's already lived a way harder life than me, man. But again, just positive dude. So it's crazy, man. So there's always someone out there worse.
Dude, and that's the mindset you've got to have. And like, you know, again, with my kids, you know, I'm not the parent that harps on them about like, oh, fuck, look how good you've got it, blah, blah, blah. But reminding them every now and again, whether it's like through like something visual where they see, you know, it's like having traveled a bit and been into third world countries and shit, like, and then you hear people complain about New Zealand, you're like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't even know how good we've got it.
Totally,
try and relay that to my kids, you know, not on like a preachy vibe, but just be like, you know,
just remindful.
When they think things are bad, I'm like, dude, your life's pretty cushy. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't want to be that.
Everyone's allowed to have that day though, like a week. You know, you just gotta remind yourself to stop being so hard on yourself too.
Dude, yeah, and I still, you know, everyone has them. Like you say, it's all just like how you deal with it. I think it's the same with all that shit we just talked about. You know, the grief and all that shit. That like, it's a fucking dark hole. But if you can get through it and climb out the other side, you, like you say, like the time heals. Actually, a really good analogy that I got from the victim support lady that I dealt with over the whole grief thing. It was a good analogy. She said, basically, when you go through a journey of grief or trauma and all that shit, picture a square box with a square box with a ball inside it, and on one side of the box there's a button. And when you're first going through it, that ball's really big, and it bounces around inside the box and hits that button constantly, you know? Yeah. And then over time, the ball gets smaller and smaller and starts bouncing around and missing the button, you know? And over time, over a few years or whatever, you know, it gets so small that it only hits, it bounces around and only hits it like, you know, once every 6 months and I was like, fuck, that is so true.
Very, very
when you're in it, bro, that ball is just smashing it every day and you just feel so shit and it feels like there's no way out. And then like 2 years down the track, you're like, fuck, like she was right. You know, you do have a shit day every now and again or whatever, but they're very uncommon compared to when you were dealing with it, you know? So I always think of that. It's like,
yeah, I still like, I hate the anniversaries of my mates and my dad, but I try to treat their birthdays as like a celebration. I try and make it happier and like,
you
know, at least, you know, try to do stuff like that. But it's hard. It's real hard.
Yeah, bro. I hear you. Yeah,
how long,
you know, like...
How long's it been since your mum passed? 2 years?
May next year will be 3 years. But like it went like that, bro. And like the circumstances of the whole thing is what made it so fucked up and what took me down that route. You know, like a lot of people that know me know the story because it was all in the newspapers and shit. But she, I mean, basically got murdered by her partner, which is a dude who was in my fucking house, you know, that stayed in my house with my kids. And just the way it went down, you know, like I was involved with the search and shit like that, you know, like I'm standing in the bush in the middle of like where I grew up in the far north, you know, it's all bush. And I'm standing there like 3 days in searching in the bush, bro, in the rain. And it's cold and like stormy, thinking that I might stumble upon my mother's body and, you know, because he dumped her in the bush, like in the most dense bush you could find. The search went on for like a week, I think, or more. And I was involved with it. I was like, fuck this. I'm in there. Like, I'm doing this shit. And in the moment, I was just charging, bro. Like the hunter and me or whatever. I was out in the bush. We were just into it. Me and a guy, funny enough, a guy I grew up with, who I haven't seen for like 20 years, bro, whatever. He's a hard out pig hunter up there. And he was straight in there. And he does some actual searching shit with the local police up there.
Yeah.
And I roll up and the bro, his name's his name's Michael, and he's there with his pig dogs. He's like, yeah, bro, we've already been out searching for like days and shit, because I obviously had to fly up. But that feeling, so me and him were on the mission. We were out there doing it. And I mean, thankfully we didn't find her. The actual search thing did. But, you know, it's like, when I look back on it, it wasn't just grief. Like, bro, it was full-blown trauma. Like I was, you know, when they found her, we were standing on the road in the pouring rain, while they brought her up out of the bush in this remote area into the, like all that shit. And I was like, I mean, thinking back now, like I was standing there like shaking, like my whole body was like in shock and shit. So I was like, I went through like a full, it was like grief mixed with trauma because of the circumstances, and then dealing with like,
how do you get past like the anger? Like I feel like,
yeah, and that was the other part. Yeah, it was fucking heavy, bro.
Right,
it was,
like it
and
takes
yeah, it was gnarly. It was fucking gnarly. And like I said, in the moment, and especially because Nikki and the kids came up, we were just going through the motions, and then obviously a funeral and like all the shit, But it wasn't until like probably a month, like after we came home or whatever, like a month later or whatever, where it really fucking things just went, like all that shit that you've experienced. And like I said, like that experience of standing there like in a search party.
It's obviously still pretty vivid in your mind, eh? Like, yeah.
Dude, it was crazy. And like the whole thing, and it was firearm related as well. So you could imagine it, we never got to say goodbye to her. There was a casket that we could sort of touch, but that was it. And yeah, bro, it was fucked. But like, I didn't process it until like months down the track.
Oh man.
That's when I fucking, that was my first, like, even all the shit, like we've been talking about grief, like all the shit I had been through earlier on, nothing had hit me like this. And the funny thing is I've always been real, like, positive. I'm always got it on my wrist there, PMA, for positive mental attitude. And I've always been that way. And I used to look at people that were like fucked up with mental health. And I'd be like, and I'm like, how do you even, like, what are you on about? Just fucking get over it. Like, walk it off, dude. Pussy. That'd be my view on it. And it wasn't until this one, bro, where I was like, holy fuck, I know what they're talking about now. Like it was heavy.
That was the same for me with Matt. Like I was, it's like I didn't believe in depression, and then when Matt did that, I was like, fuck, like it is real. And, like I felt, I was just like, man, this is a lot, and it's, man, people call it coward's way out and all that shit. I'm like, man, half those people are stronger than you saying it, Like it was, I couldn't imagine. All I can imagine with your one is like someone's actually been taken from you, so you've got no chance of it. It's like, like my dad passed away, but I had 2 years of like the build up, I guess, whatever. And then the other thing's all the anger, because I was I was an angry dude from like 15 to 19 until I finally sort of like settled down and just forgot about a lot of stuff. And like I said, like the more you hold on to the rope, the more it burns your hand, It took me a long time to let go of the rope. And like Mike Tyson says today, it's taken me a lot of angry, bad shit to be this calm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I was the same, bro. I was just, like you said, getting fucking hassled and shit when you're a kid. Growing up in certain situations sort of leads you to be, like you said, not, you're not like filled with rage 24/7, but just having a pretty shit attitude in general, which then obviously leads you down the path of doing dumb, bad shit.
Oh man, like trying to get away from to move out of my like real mum's place. Like no one believed me, and then you kind of get angry and you have a slip up. Like obviously I didn't do anything to her, but I just sort of had a bit of a rage out, and then it's like locked in for 2 years of anger management before you can like go to a court to say like I don't want to live with my mum. Like I could say it until I was blue in the face for 5 years and nothing, So
yeah,
all like you said, all that trauma shit, it just comes up, and it's like,
I guess the real show of strength is when you can get through that. I didn't think I was going to get through it, bro. I was in a fucking.
There is no life
the thing is, I'm not
a away.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to talk about it because I think it needs to be talked about. And this is only recent, And like I said, my whole life I've always been super positive and happy, and I'm just stoked on life. But this was the one time where I was like, fuck, this sucks. Like, I feel like shit.
Because you were robbed, bro. That's why. You were robbed.
Well, and that's the thing. And in saying that, however long it was down the track, like it was a year or whatever it took, I had to go stand in fucking court and stand eye to eye with this piece of shit that had taken. And, dude, I'll tell you what, like, I'm not, I used to train MMA and do all the shit, like, it had that in me back then. I don't now, but like, and I'm not violent at all. I would never wish harm on anybody. But I'll tell you what, if they fucking let me over that thing in that court, I
You'd
would be the
wanna-
one going to prison, bro, because I
You
would have
want to
fucking...
take the eyes out, for sure.
Dude, I was sitting there and I was like shaking uncontrollably. There was that much rage, especially when they read out my victim statement, because I fucking put heavy shit in there, dude. Like, about shit affecting our family for generations and shit. And you want to know the best part? This fucking piece of shit, he, at the end of my victim statement, because like they were all pretty heavy, like all my sisters and shit, like there's the thing, but I went hard. Like, I've always been pretty good at like saying shit on paper, and for whatever reason, at the end of my one, he fucking collapsed inside the little fucking whatever it's called, the ring thing, and like smashed his head on the thing, and the security guards were like freaking out, and I was like, fuck
You just want to get out of there because you can't deal with it, eh?
Well, and then like, because it was heavy, like the shit I put in there, and then when that happened, I was like, yeah, fuck you, like at least I got something, I got something on him.
Yeah.
So I don't reckon,
I don't reckon any of that shit's cynical today. I reckon, every dog has its day, and everyone should get their bones, bro. Like I fully believe in that shit, man. If I believe in anything, it's karma, and if I have to speed karma up a little way, I'm all for it too. Hey, sometimes, you know what I mean?
That was the crazy part though, because I'm a big karma person too, and like I was just talking to my mate Stefan the other day about karma and like the long term thing where you just do good by others, you be a good person, you just fucking look after, just be a good person. But in those moments like that where you're sitting there looking at the guy who fucking murdered your mother, and you've got that natural like protector instinct as a son.
Yeah.
It's there's so no hard
good,
to
there's
like...
no good in you left, bro?
Dude, it's just, I don't know. It was crazy. I walked out, I just sat on the thing, I was like shaking, I was like, fuck. And then, I got over it and he got all the sentence and shit he deserved or whatever. But yeah, it was a trip, dude. And I'll tell you what, I have a huge, I guess, like perspective shift of like mental health struggles.
Man. I bet I've
completely switched on it now.
One good lady for you too, bro.
Dude, and we've been together for 12 years and we've been through, we're like a year into our relationship, her dad, basically, well, she doesn't really talk to her real dad, but her like stepdad, so her mum's partner, husband, who I was a real good mate with, which I did talk about in that episode I was doing of my story. He's just the goodest dude, bro. Just this big jolly man. Like he was just a fucking legend. Like just everyone gravitated towards him. And I'll tell you one important thing that he used to always say to me, because we did a bit of like random work together, and he was a hustler, bro. Like they called him the barrel boy. He used to buy wine barrels off wineries, like used ones.
Yeah.
For like, I think he'd pay like $50 each for them, but he'd buy like 100 at a time. And he used to drive a courier truck, so he'd roll up with his courier truck, buy all these wine barrels, and then he'd sell them at the market for $150 a piece.
Yeah.
Just cash. And like he taught me about this, and he used to always say to me, he's like, mate, just make sure you've always got your fingers in a few different pies, Never rely on one thing. And he'd say all this shit, and like he was he used to say to me, oh, you're a real go-getter, aren't you? And all this stuff. It's like all these random memories. But yeah, it was like a year. I think it was a year into our relationship. Might not even been that. Where he passed, he just had a massive heart attack. Like he had this little side hustle ATM business, like ATMs on a trailer for like events and shit. Like he did it all, bro. This guy, he was such a legend. And randomly pushing the trailer in. Funny enough, he said, oh, I've got to set this up for your mum, like Nikki's mum. So if anything happens to me, she's got a little passive income set up here, da. And then, like a year in, he had a heart attack pushing the ATM trailer into place. And I was like, fuck.
Wow, man. Yeah, that's something I don't believe in a lot of shit, but stuff like that's like real spooky,
because he was a big dude. And I said to Nikki, I was like, he fucking knew, like he knew something was going on with him or whatever. He was just too he was just too much of a, I don't know, to say anything. But yeah, like we've been through heaps of shit as well, bro. And like say, like married for 5 years and fucking happily married, and like all that shit you go throughout a relationship and being there for each other on either side of grief or whatever it is.
It's a way through, bro. Yeah, gotta keep it solid.
Same thing. Yeah, it makes your relationship stronger as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's very like there's a lot of reflecting going on,
Yeah,
the older you get, the more you reflect.
Bro. Yeah, for sure. Because you've built a life, so there is shit to actually like look back on. Like when you're young, you don't really have that look back on stuff. I guess Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, I've got some pretty fucking wild stories from, especially in Australia. Definitely toned it down since we've come back to New Zealand, but yeah, it's been a trip.
How long have you been getting tattooed for?
I got my first tattoo when I think it was when I turned 18. I think. It's a funny, talking of tattoo, the one story that always cracks me up about my mum, like, that I'll never forget, and I always blamed her for being like a heavily tattooed person and being like obsessed with them. We were at a school camp, bro. We were at a school camp somewhere, I can't remember where it was. And I remember she came along, you could imagine, real hippie sort of la-di-da sort of lady. And she was always getting tattoos. She had quite a few. And then we're at the school camp, and I'll never forget. And someone's like, "Oh man, where's your mum?" And I'm like, "I don't actually know." I was like tripping out. I'm like, I have no idea, to be honest. She had fucking snuck off to the local tattoo shop and gone and got a piece. Because where we grew up, there was no, like, a tattoo shop there was none for hours, So when we were in another town on camp, she's like, fuck, I'm going to take advantage of this. And she snuck off and went and got a little tattoo, and she came back all like jolly and shit. And I remember in front of some of the other parents, oh my God. Like, so yeah, like, could imagine the type of person she was. He was just. So I always sort of, every time I'd get, whether I was in Oz or whatever, and I'd come back to NZ and see them, and she'd be, what have you got? And I'd show her new pieces I had, and she'd
love it, I bet. She'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, she was always super supportive of it. But yeah, I think I was 18. I think this one on my arm here. I think I got this Aotearoa here on my arm when I was 18. It was my very first one.
Yeah, classic Kiwi tattoo. It's so awesome.
Well, it's like a young 18-year-old Kiwi. I'm pretty sure I got it in. Did I get it in Australia?
I was about to say, especially if you were over in Oz too. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, what do you get?
Yeah,
some cool writing. But yeah, I need to get more, and I want to do my head, and I've only got one strip down my ribs and my armpits basically, and then my whole torso's complete.
Yeah.
But as you know, bro, it's an ongoing.
Yeah, well,
it's just a journey over time.
Yeah, well, I got my first when I was 15, and that was like after I pretty much won the court case. Between 13 and 15 is like when I won the court case to stay with my dad full time. From the age of 13, as soon as I turned 15, I was like, I'm going to get Spiers and that. And everyone rinses you out for getting your family crest and stuff. For me, it was like the biggest like solidarity like shift. This is all I am, there's no other half of family to me. I am just like my dad's son, So, and it's real funny, bro. Like my dad, like, big dude, bro. Like they used to call him the retired Viking. And then my other mates, we all called him BBR, which was like Big Bad Rod. That's because his name's Rodney. And he's a massive dude, bro, and like, not one tattoo. Not one tattoo on him, and he just looked like this big biker.
Clean skin. Trippy.
So I don't know where I got it from.
It's funny how like your parents can influence you. I was asking my kids, I said to Roy the other day, I was like, "Oh, you reckon you'll get tattoos when you're?" She's like, "Oh, no way." I'm like, okay. It's not what I was expecting. Whereas like even my old man's got a couple. He doesn't have many. But, same thing. He's an old biker dude, so he's just got, like, the usual, like, whatever, motorbike shit, whether it's a Harley logo or something, I don't know. On his arm, he's got a couple. But, yeah, my mum had quite a lot. So I was always like, you were the influence. Like,
that's awesome.
This way.
Yeah, because back in the, I think I was 20, just maybe nearly 21 when I got my hands tattooed. And back then, like, that's like 2012. And back then, like, you don't get your hands tattooed. Like, you were instant, like, written off as a criminal sort of thing. And I remember going home to my folks. They were pretty cool about it. Like, my stepmom was all cool with it. They all sort of knew, like, whatever. Like, I've always had my head screwed on. The looks that I get is crazy. Like, not so much now. Like, I used to get, like, a lot, like, especially with my head tattoos and stuff like that, and face tattoos, obviously. But I do always find it funny, like, when you go into, like, even today, like, a lot of suits today. At the meeting that I had this morning and it's, I don't think they judge you as much anymore, but it's just funny. You're just like the nail that stands out, I guess.
That's definitely a lot more accepted these days, eh? Even from like, let's say, what are we, 2020, like, 10, 15 years ago, it was completely different, where now it's, people just want tattoos to be cool. They don't want it to fucking, because they actually like art, it was like, just cover yourself up now.
I like art, and some people hang it on the walls, and I just do this, so. So have you got your ass cheeks all done?
Nah, not yet. My back piece just goes to the top of my crack, basically. So I've still got one. My whole right leg has nothing on it. So that'll be one big piece one day. But it's like I was saying, it's just like people don't understand it. But then, like, it's just, you literally get to the point, once you get quite a bit of coverage, you're just sort of like filling gaps in, you're still getting meaningful shit. Yeah. But it gets to a point where it's like, oh, I'm on a mission now. Like, I'm just going to cover this fucking rig up,
It's another bit of skin. Yeah.
I don't know. I've always, I don't know where the tattoo thing come from. I think I was the same, I think I was probably early 20s when I got like hand ones. And it was the same thing. It was like just that young rebellious stage, like, fuck this, I'll be unique or whatever. I don't even know. I was getting tattooed at like bikie shops and shit over there. I just hanging around with the wrong people. So maybe that influenced it. And then I remember I got my first neck. I think it's this side, I don't know which side, first piece on my neck, and I was like, fuck, I'm in it now. Like, whatever they call it, like job stoppers and shit. But I was always like, fuck, I fucking hate working with people anyway, other people anyway. I don't give a shit. Like,
when I was like 15, like, I just remembered, like, I was so fascinated by them, and I just knew straight away. I was like, I just want a bodysuit, like, so badly. Like, I was just like, I'm going to do it. So I've been getting tattooed every year since I was 15, so I'm 32 now, so it's like you said,
a good effort.
It's a big journey, man. And everyone's like, it's a lot of money and stuff. And I'm like, I was actually talking to David Mouse about that. He's like purchased his first Rolex, and I was like, man, that's so cool. Like, I was like, obviously a bit of a status thing. And he's like, yeah, for sure. But he's like, I wanted it. And I'm like, fucking so you should, if you work hard, you get what you want. But I was like, your Rolex is like my tattoos in a way, like both similar pricing, but like it's like a respect thing almost. It's like, man, I've made it. Like, I've sat through all of this, no numbing cream. Like, I've earned the stripes, so I think it's a mean respect, and it's a great respect thing to my artist too, Josh. We've just been mates for like over 10 years now. He's such a good dude. So yeah,
it's the best part about tattoos, the bonds that you form with the artists.
It's like counselling to me. Like, if I can go get a tattoo and sit there and talk to Josh and talk about all sorts of heavy shit and all sorts of fun shit, and it's like an unload off my mind. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, especially if you do long sessions, It's like a journey into the unknown to see what you can fucking what
bro,
you
I
made
can't remember
of.
the last time I got a session under 8 hours. I can't remember the last time.
I remember when I was doing my back, bro. We did, I think it took all up. It was like 70 hours or more. I can't remember, but I'd do a full day, like 8 to 10 hour session every second Saturday. So I'd give it like that much time to heal. So it was just for like months on end.
Yeah.
Every second Saturday, I was sitting through like 10-hour sessions, and like I had a couple where like one, because my mate Jacob did a lot of, like, he did my back, a lot of my front ribs. I think he did my right, left arm, neck stuff, like quite a lot of it. He's fucking AWOL now. I don't even know where he's at, over in Oz somewhere. And then I had other ones where another mate, Justin, like tattooed my leg while I was getting my back, working on my back. So I was like getting like double teamed basically and shit like that, bro. It's a fucking journey into a pain. Like, same thing. I refuse to do numbing cream, any of that shit.
People
I'm like,
forget about
I'm here for it.
Healing's the worst part and the most important part too, like, you can't, you got to book your life around healing. Like, you can't swim and, all sorts of stuff. So you miss out. So, but I just love it. I think it'll always be a huge part of me. It's always something that I've done.
There must be like a recipe for like a certain childhood or like something that just drives people towards fucking.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking the other day, like when I was young, I used to have like, like my everything's covered, like full on freckles, being a ginger.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if like part of it's like I'm just trying to cover up all the freckles that people used to hassle me for. Is it some sort of like fucking bullying response or some shit? It's like, look at me now, you can't see any fucking freckles. I don't know. I'm not thinking too deeply, but like I said, you just get carried away, I reckon, and you just.
It's just artwork, and like you said, the more you get tattooed, the more skin you find that's bare skin. And you're just like, oh man, I really don't want this bare skin.
Yeah, that's you look in the mirror and you're like, all these little gaps. I get annoyed now where I'm like, shit. And I've only got little, writing kids' names and shit in recent years. Like, I haven't worked on any big pieces, so I'm like, I'm due to like my head or finish my ribs or whatever. But there's one thing me and the wife were talking about the other day, and like one of the funniest things is, I'm like, in general, a nice person. I'm always happy and chatty and whatever. I said to her, one of the best parts about being like heavily tattooed and looking like you're like some fucking badass dude is when you roll up and be like, hey, how you doing? Like, and you're like super nice, and it's like, lost him. No, he's still there. And then you're like, you're super nice and people sort of recalibrate. Can you hear me? We might have lost him. We might have lost him. Can't hear me anymore. I think he's got slow internet. He's disappeared. I can see him, but he can't hear me.
You there, bro?
Hang on. Oh, there he is. He's back. Can
I
you
think
hear
you
me?
dropped out. It's just saying reconnecting.
Yeah, yours is saying the same. Can you hear me or not? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? We're still recording, but Troy can't hear me, and I can hear him, but he can't hear me. So what I'll do is I will call him back, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I could see you the whole time. It just said connecting. So
All right, we're back.
technical
difficulties.
issues.
All right, well, let's take that as a sign as we'll stop gasbagging about tattoos.
Yeah.
Probably not real relative for anybody listening anyway.
No, true that.
How many heavily tattooed gingers there is out there. But so, like, lastly, just give us a wrap up. How should people find you? Where should they go?
To
good
find
stuff.
me is I'm mainly just thinking the Instagram currently. And like anyone can
Also your brand.
Oh yeah, my brand. Yeah, so it's leadhead_NZ. That's where you can go get the thinking kit. Got a big range, and it's just like I said, it's constantly evolving too. So don't even feel like it's going to be stale or there's always something coming out. Or I'm always doing giveaways too. I just like that shit. Like I know it creates people to come in, but it's just cool doing a giveaway and like someone gets a free hat. I think that's wicked. So. And then obviously I've got my website www.leadheadnz.com. But yeah, I'm working on trying to do Facebook to Meta or whatever it is, adding together with Instagram and that. So, but yeah, we're always releasing funny videos and informative stuff as well. So it's it's quite cool.
Some of those ones of you crack up, man.
Yeah, I think
like little impromptu skits and shit.
Yeah,
always have a giggle.
getting the job done, eh?
Yeah, bro, it's good.
What can we expect more from you?
Oh, I'm just going to keep doing my usual shit, bro. Like 90% of my sort of time and enthusiasm goes into parenting for another year. And then, even work-wise, on the photo business side, I'm just sort of take what comes.
Yeah.
I'm not really grinding to grow much. I'm just sort of, like I said, concentrating on raising a good little boy, hopefully.
So.
And it's just that's
important,
priorities, I'm in a position where I can do it, and I've got to be thankful for that because there's so many fucking parents out there that aren't fortunate enough to get to hang out with their kid.
Yeah.
And that was part of our strategy with parenting. One of us always had to be full time at home,
Yeah.
So that's it. But I don't know. I just think it's good to give you a little spot there where you can shout out. Everyone should go and support Leadhead, obviously.
Oh man, thanks, bro.
What would you? I guess you'd call it a small brand. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think it's that? But
yeah, at the start, everyone's like, "Cool, small business and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know." And then, like, just the other day, someone was like, "Oh, it's such a cool small business," and I was like, "Yeah, I've done deals with the Rock FM. Like, would you call them small?" Or I'm like, "I don't know." Like, and like beers now, I'm like, "Yeah, big players as well." Like, I don't know. I think it's growing, and it's going to grow at a rapid rate soon as well, which I'm just super excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, like that giveaway thing you were talking about, it's like some of the sort of knowledge I've passed on to other people who, whether they're doing, like I said, product business or just anything where they're trying to succeed, that whole giving back thing and like you said, the community, fucking paying it forward, all that shit. It just elevates everybody else and your brand or your, whatever you're trying to do. It might not be like a product business like you're doing, but whether it's bloody influencer shit or social media or whatever.
I love the Kiwi collaborations too. Like if anyone wants to hit me up and they think they got a good idea for a giveaway or whatever, it does come down to brand alignment to a point. I'm not going to be giving away free boxes of tissues with hats, you know what I mean? But I love it, and don't ever be afraid to message me and that. So
stay true to the brand, eh?
Yeah, well, I think that's the other thing too. Like I think the more stuff you get in regards to this sort of situation, like it could potentially fall off, and I'm enjoying just handling it,
Yeah, keeping busy, keeping out of trouble.
Yeah. Definitely.
So everybody listening, go and check out Leadhead, buy a hat, support the bros who are doing something, having a crack.
Absolutely, man.
Growing something from nothing. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, thank you.
You go.
I was just going to say thanks so much for having me on, man. I reckon it's awesome, man. As soon as you said come on, I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm totally interested in that. Like, you and me have talked a lot before this, so it's like perfect sense.
The pleasure's all mine. It's that's the thing with doing podcasts. It's all about tracking people down and getting them keen to come on and have a chat, you know, because not everybody's that way inclined, as you'd know.
Yep, totally.
Especially diving into heavy shit like we have. It's, you know, like you said, it's kind of a skill in its own.
Yeah,
especially with emotional stuff, you know, being able to keep a straight face.
And I usually keep it to myself, mainly just because, like, I'm like, you know, I don't need people to like put sympathy on me or like to try pity me or anything like that. I just like, you know, what my people know, and I just briefly dusted over things that I thought in my head, you know. But yeah, it is important. It's definitely important to talk about this sort of stuff for sure.
I think we told your story pretty well, where you've come from, sort of where you're going. I think that's what it's all about. It sort of molds who you are and what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Well, let's do it. We'll do an episode in the future. I don't know when, but who knows how big Leadhead will be by then. But
yeah, man.
The future
I'll
will
always
tell.
have time for you, bro.
Sure, bro.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.
See you in the next one. All right,
good,
see you, bro. Appreciate
Bye,
it.
man.